And we are live. Hello, my lovelies. Today I have the fabulous Kristen Long here, author of Thief of Sorrows. Yay. I'm so excited. Uh, so, as you can see, my co-hosts are not here. So, Amy from A Star Reads, her lovely self, is unfortunately very sick. She came down with the flu. She is here in the audience, or will be here in the audience with us, but not in the live. And Drew he's coming. He'll be here eventually. So I would love to hear everybody's thoughts on the book, any questions you may have for Kristen. I know that Amy actually had some questions she sent to me via Instagram to ask you.
Okay.
And we get to those.
Are we doing spoilers as well, or no spoilers? I can't remember.
Oh, there's Amy.
Hey.
Spoilers are fine because people have had the whole month to read it, so they know that when they come here, spoilers may happen.
Okay.
We'll just say, hey, spoiler alert or something.
Gotcha.
Okay, so Amy's first question was, what inspired you to write a Robin Hood retelling?
So I'm a Disney kid at heart, and I loved the Robin Hood retelling, or the Robin Hood movie with the fox and the bear. Loved that movie so much, and I always loved the idea of someone standing up for others who can't stand up for themselves. And I feel like Robin Hood really embodied that, stealing from the rich to give to the poor, doing it with a lot of sarcasm as well. I loved his attitude throughout, his charisma, just the whole embodiment. I really enjoyed his side of things. He came from somewhere very wealthy. Like if you look at the old Robin Hood, he was very wealthy, then saw the other side of things and just saw the injustices that were being done. And I love that aspect of it.
Amy says it's one of her favorite Disney movies as well.
I love it.
So it's interesting that, it was inspired by the Disney version, but you went so dark. Like the Disney version is all light and fluffy, and yours is not.
No, it's very dark.
Very dark. And it takes off like bam, right off the start. There's like, you don't have the buildup. It's just like you're in it from the very beginning. And when I started reading it, by that point, Amy had already read like over half the book, and I got the first 3 chapters, and I was like, whew. That was a lot.
Yep.
Like it just took off.
Yep. Throwing you right into the action right at the very beginning.
She also said, I want to point out that I love the scene in Deegan's bedroom where Isolde was transporting the gold out in the exact same way that it was done in the Disney movie version.
Yeah, I wanted to do some kind of a nod to that, but with a different flair, with her saving Cinta, and with the manner in which she left Gage. Like I wanted it to be like a real dig to him. But oh yeah. Oh, come on. You never know. He could be in game. You don't know.
Well, if he is, so be it. But I hated him.
No, it will not be him. I'll go ahead and say that right now. No, it will not be Gage.
I mean,
he's horrible.
Oh, the kid thing. Yeah, no, that was dark. I was just like, oh, ooh, that got me.
Well, yeah, he was braced for book 2. Then book 2 is way darker than 1 was.
Oh goodness! Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was disturbing. Like the kid. Oh man, the kid thing got me. That was the hardest part.
Hi.
Drew is here with us. Yeah, it was the little flowers. The brothel.
Yeah.
And her little flowers, and then when she had to go back to Gage to And she was like, "Oh, you're just going to use me to do the exact same thing she was using me to do."
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
they
But
wanted
no.
to take him
Yeah.
out.
Yep. Yep. She was not going to let it get that far ever again for her.
But oh, it was just so sad. Like, oh. And then
Mm-hmm.
when they would talk to the lady at the brothel, and
Oh, Vara.
yeah, they would tremble and cry,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, I just want to hug them.
Yeah. Those scenes were very, very hard to write, I have to say.
The writing was done very well, but I have to also add that I don't know if you had any say in who the narrator was
Mm-hmm.
for the audiobook, or if the publisher did that, but they did an excellent job. Whoever did an excellent job of selecting the narrator for the audiobook, because she did
Mm-hmm.
fantastic.
Oh yeah, Laura is just amazing. So I actually met Laura through TikTok. It was, I guess, around the time that like she was starting her own page, and she had said to make a video and have like a little bit of the book in the video, and she would uh, do a little clip of it. And so I posted and tagged her and asked her to do when um, when Isolde met Bly, and she saved her from Vara. And so she
Mhm.
read Bly, she read Vara, and she read Isolde. And the way she read it, and it's actually pinned on my page, I was like, "That's it, you're it." And so yeah, so I was very, very thankful to get Laura, and she's actually agreed to do the whole series. So very,
She
very
did
thankful.
fantastic with, each character having, their individual voice, they're
Mm-hmm.
like, you could differentiate when she was going from one character to another, and that is very, very helpful
Oh yeah.
when listening to an audiobook. And yeah, she did great with that.
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, Laura's amazing.
Amy said, "Oh yeah, Adam Vara was awful."
Yeah, yeah, she's horrible, and um, she plays a big role later on as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, somebody needs to hmm, put her in her place.
Never know.
So Amy also said the audiobook narrator captured your story and relayed it really well. Do you get to consult with the voice actor before they record the book? Do you get to choose who reads it? So I guess you already answered
Mhm.
that. I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
read through her questions.
yeah. Laura, we actually took quite a bit of time in deciding like accents and how certain people say certain things, and I had to send her a video of me saying like every name of every place of all the characters and how I feel like they would be portrayed from a vocal standpoint. So she really did her research very well, and but she also made it her own as well, which I really thought was special. So yeah, we took a great start. The dogs are barking. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I
Um,
have 3 of them, and they're surprisingly quiet right now.
yeah. But yeah, she did a lot of prep work for the book, so which meant a great deal to me.
It's interesting to like see your baby, your creation come to life in that way.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Whether it's coming to life on a screen or coming to life via an audiobook with a really great narrator. It's interesting to like see your baby take another form. I think that's
Oh yeah.
cool. Drew, did you have any questions you want to ask Kristen? I know you just kind of got jumped in here, right? Everything's
No, you're
already going
good.
on.
I'm not sure if this was already asked or not, but I was going to wonder how long will this book series be? Will it be a trilogy, duology, or even more than that?
So so right now it's planned to be 8 books. There'll be
Wow.
7 in the main series, and then there'll be a massive prequel that will tie up everything at the very end.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm very excited to write that prequel.
I was going to say, speaking of prequels, one of the things that I noticed throughout this book was, we would get a lot of references to
The past.
things before the book.
Mhm.
So like Aurora.
Mhm.
Drew hasn't finished the book.
No.
Hey, don't
Drew,
call
I'm
me out
playing.
like that.
Drew hasn't finished the book, so I'm trying to not say too much as far as spoilers go.
I'll leave if you want to do spoilers.
No.
Which part are you at, Drew?
I don't know. Let me look at the audio because let's see.
But meaning the Aurora thing or Isolde's love that died in the past. We don't really get too much of that. I'm wondering, is that something that's going to be, in this prequel?
Yes. You actually learn a lot about Aurora in book 2. You get I wanted the story of the past to kind of unfold slowly, so you get little tidbits here and there, and then when the truth finally comes out, it's like, oh my gosh, like that's what it is. And so you get what it is at the end of 2, and then a lot more comes out in books 3 and 4 and 5. Like, I mean, it just all, it varies. It appears at appropriate times, but the way it all came to be will be explained in book 8, the final book.
Okay.
I'm at the very beginning of chapter 15 after they had the sexy time in the library. So
oh yay!
That's the only way I can say it.
Perfect. No, I love
Sexy
it.
time in the library. I remember I was walking my puppy when I was listening to the sexy time in the library. I was going. It was funny because I could actually remember where I was, and I was like, "Oh, sexy time!" I was walking the dog. How did you decide to turn this story more fantasy with shapeshifters? What was that the plan? Always the plan?
So I actually started writing this story in high school and did not pick it back up until a couple of years ago. And initially it was only going to be 3 books. And now that I'd had time to plot and plan, and certain things happened in my life that made me want to expand on it even more. The idea for Shifters was always there, but not in the capacity that it was in now. And I wanted it to be more fantasy just because I love fantasy, and I was going through a really hard time in life, and I wanted an escape, and reading just wasn't cutting it. And so I wanted to make the world just something fun. I wanted to write a book that I would want to read, and so I wanted to add the elements of like earth, water, and wind, and fire, and then adding in some shifters. But also at the same time, I wanted that magic to come at a cost. And in the book, their magic is viewed more as a curse than it is a blessing, because it's so hard on them. They have to fight that nature constantly. And so, it was always going to be shifters, just not in the capacity that it is now.
It's interesting that they kind of, when they shift into their animal form or whatever, they are the animal, and it's hard for them it can be hard for them to come back and to like not do the natural thing for this animal or kill this thing or whatever. I also found it interesting where oh gosh, it starts with an M. Malachi. Where he's doing the healing thing, and he's having to like feel out for living things that he could pull this energy from to help heal. And so it's like he finds a deer, and he pulls the energy to help her. He hasn't gotten to that point yet. But yeah, that.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, that like magic always comes at a price, and so his magic definitely does. So he has to take from something to help something else. And something that will be shown more in book 2 is that there are different facets to power. For him, his affinity is healing, and he can manipulate animals and plants and stuff like that. But as far as like dealing with metal or dealing with the actual earth itself, that's not in his forte. And with Liam, he's an earth wielder as well, but he's not very proficient with healing, which that will come in book 2 quite a bit.
Now, is this something that I don't know if this was something I missed in the story, or if this is something that's coming in a future story? So just let me know if this is something that would spoil anything else. But when he was doing that, when he was like reaching out to try to get this energy or whatever to help heal, there was this tree that had like almost infinite power that he could pull from, but he wasn't going to touch that.
So that is, I'm trying to think of where Drew is. Okay, so it was
right
Drew
after the river
grave.
or whatever scene, and she's like really bad hurt. Like he had to carry her, and he takes her to Nan, and he's trying to heal her, and he's like trying to find some living thing to pull energy from to heal her, and it refers to this tree, and it says something about he.
And so that is Camden's grave. That's where he's buried, and those trees were meant only for the royalty that are in the capital. And she actually snuck in after he died and stole one because he was that special to her. And so that is where his grave is, and there are certain magical properties to it. But that is one thing that like he will not touch, because if he killed that tree, it would be like killing him all over again, and he won't do that.
Okay. I was wondering like what was going on with that. I thought that it had something to do with Camden, but I was like not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Amy says she would definitely like a prequel.
Oh yeah. You'll be getting a prequel.
I want to know more about Ferdin. Was that his name? I want to know his secrets.
Oh yeah. He's got a lot of secrets. You'll slowly learn them. There's one massive secret that won't be revealed until the final book, but
Liam, I could not trust him, which I know was intentional, but he was quite frustrating. Interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe I missed it. I didn't really find him untrustworthy. I just found him stuck, where he was kind of in a bad position, where he's ordered to do certain things, so he's got to do them, but he also wants to protect Isolde, and he's in love with Isolde and all of that.
Yeah, he's very much he is frustrating in a way for that reason, because he wants to build this life for her, he wants to protect her, but yet she's doing things that are putting that in jeopardy. But again, he has to follow orders, he has to do certain things, but yet he loves her, so he's very much caught between a rock and a hard place.
I want to know why she won't get naked in front of him.
There's a very specific reason, and I can't tell you what that is. You'll learn it mostly in 2, but really at the very beginning of 3 you'll know why.
So it was like that sexy time he's talking about, and I was like, okay, why won't she? Okay, maybe we'll get that. And then I thought it would come later, that it would reveal something about why she doesn't let him see. And I'm like, what is it that she's not letting him see? Like, finish the book, and I'm like, why didn't she get naked?
Yep. There's well, I can't say because Drew's not. I don't think Drew's gotten to a certain part, so I can't say.
Drew, no.
Oh, I was like, you have to leave.
Just because we can't see you doesn't mean you can't hear us. You'd have to take your headphones off and just blah blah blah.
But yes, there is a very specific reason why she can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cases A-Star reads, I agree. I don't trust him. I got the vibe that he would totally turn on Isolde because he was ordered to do so. I think that's one that was like where he's really stuck, because he would want to do what he's supposed to do, but
yeah, which he does help her at a certain point. I can't say. which you
Yeah.
know that he helps her. But there's more to him than meets the eye.
Is he going to be a Tamlin or something?
You don't know. You never know. You never. This is book 1 of 8, so you got a lot of people left to meet.
Oh.
It's funny. We were actually talking, Drew. We were talking before you got in and before the live started. We were talking about Akatar and all that.
Oh, nice.
and how, and we were talking about Fourth Wing and like, please don't let there be a Tamlin situation with that.
Oh, yes.
I hope there's a better love interest to come. I do too.
Oh.
Even though I didn't distrust Liam, I don't think he's her mate. Because it was kind of like referred to. There's a hummingbird outside my window. Kind of referred to, that mating bond never clicked, and I think there's a good reason why that mating bond's not clicking, and so I think that there's somebody else to come for her, in my opinion. That's what I was thinking. And you're like, oh.
Yeah,
like, I know.
I know.
Oh, okay. So, Drew, do you have any other questions for her? And anybody in the audience, do you have any other questions?
I was going to ask, what was your favorite part about writing book 1? Like the magic system or the politics and all that? So
I really loved writing the banter within the cadre. I loved writing, like with Isolde and Killian, the way they fight and how they both kind of gang up on Malachi a lot. He's older, and just that bond that they have. They're all people from very traumatic pasts, which you'll learn some about Killian's past in book 2. You know about Bly's past. Malachi's you learn more in 2. And Isolde you learn in 2 for the most part. But writing that banter between them and just how they come together, how they mesh, how they work well, just the relationships. That's what I truly enjoyed writing the most.
Nice.
I did think the conversation about why Malachi and Isolde don't have a romantic relationship was interesting. I feel like their relationship is more like big brother and little sister.
Yes, very much so. There's no like sexual tension. Yeah, none at all. He's very much like a father figure and an older brother friend kind of thing.
That was the vibe I got, like older brother, keep you in line kind of thing, but not romantic.
Right, and there's a very specific reason why they're not, and you'll learn that eventually.
Not that I would want them together, but it was definitely on all our minds, I imagine.
Yes. Yeah, and I've heard that from several people, but when it's explained why, they'll be like, "Oh, okay, I see why." So.
Love Killian and Bly. I did too. That one of the scenes that got me in the emotions was Andrew hasn't gotten there, but that scene where right before Isolde has to be carried off and all of that, where Bly is in her thing and goes under the
at Blackwater. Yeah.
I'm like trying to choose words carefully.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
I know you get it, so I just don't want to mess anything up for him because he hasn't gotten there yet. But that
I blame work for this.
That was like the part that got me in the emotions the most, because I was worried about them, and I loved the little reunion, and she was like falling apart, hurt, but she was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, that scene was actually never intended to exist, and then I don't know, I just got carried away one night writing it, and I'm just like, it just flowed. I don't know why, but it turned out to be one of my favorite scenes to write, especially for Kill and Bly.
The names of the characters are unique. Where did the inspiration come from? or how did you choose each of their names? I will say, man, Isolde is in 3 books I've read recently.
Isolde has become far more popular, and I picked Isolde in high school. So
Oh wow.
It's wild.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's funny because like the books that I'm reading, they all came. Oh goodness, got an eyelash. The books that I was reading, they all came out at very different times, but Isolde was a character in there, and I was just like, what the heck?
Especially in a lot of the adults retellings, I've been noticing Isolde is a popular name, and I was like, oh, okay, here's another one.
Yeah. Mostly there are a few that are special, like which one is it? I think it was Blyana that I'd always loved, and I found it on Pinterest, and like a lot of the names have a very specific meaning that pertains to them. Like they mean something in different languages. Galena was one. I love Gal Gadot, and so her character is very loosely kind of based on her a little bit. Like she's that warrior, but she played Wonder Woman, and so I wanted something gal for her. And then Fairden, like I have all the meanings written down. It's hard for me to keep them all together. But Gage was one that I don't know why it just popped out at me, and I'd never seen Gage in a book before, and it had just enough like allure to it, but also like it seemed like a sharp name in a way. Like I wanted something very like on the tip of your tongue for someone to hate, I guess, if that makes sense.
Every time you say the name Gage, I'm like, oh, I hate him.
You're really gonna hate him in 2. One of my betas, I love him to death. He said, if you do not kill him in this book, I will never forgive you.
Oh.
Like, oh, okay.
He is awful. He really is. Like, there's not a redemption story for him. No, he's awful.
He's one of those characters that you truly want to die, but are really pissed when he doesn't. But
he's a good villain. He is a good villain.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you watched him as a villain. Like and I totally didn't mean to do this, but I don't know if you've read the Zodiac Academy books. Okay, well, there's a character in there that I loathe more than any character that I've ever read in my life. And I guess Gage is similar to him in a sense, in that there's no redemption. There's no going back from what he's done. And just someone that I just truly love to hate. And so I kind of wanted to write a character like that where you know that it's going to be bad whenever he's on the page. It'll either be bad or it'll be funny in the sense of what Isolde does to him.
It was like everything he did, it just kept making him worse and worse. It was like, okay, I'm going to break her. Okay, I'm going to like do this to get her to marry me. Okay, I'm going to do this, and I can't say more, but everything he does, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, I hate him.
Yeah, he sucks. He's horrible.
I'm glad we're all in the same boat for Gage then.
Oh yeah, no, Gage is horrible. I hate him. I hate him too.
It's going to be an 8-book series. How do you plan for that? Are the others outlined? Do you write ahead on all of them, or do you focus on one book at a time?
So I'm kind of what you call a hybrid writer. I'm a pantser and a plotter. So a pantser is someone who just writes by the seat of their pants and just kind of lets the story take them. A plotter is someone who has to have everything mapped out, for the most part, or outlined. I know certain things that have to happen in book 2 and 3 and so on. And I know this has to happen to this person, or this person has to die at this point. And so I kind of leave it loose at that point and just kind of let the story, I know that I have to get from A to B. How I get there, I just kind of let it flow. It's like that scene with Blind Kill. That was never intended. That just was a pantser moment. but I did not actually. I had an ending planned, and I recently changed it for the whole series. Like within the last 6 months or so, I'm like, no, because I was in a very dark place when I decided how to end the series, but I changed it. Thankfully, I did. There are 2 people though who I haven't quite decided yet on their fate.
Will they live? Will they die? Dun, dun, dun.
I think I've made my decision, but we'll see. We'll see.
Oh.
We'll see.
Or will they die but not really be dead?
You never know. It can go either way. But yeah, so for the most part, it's planned out. There is a new storyline that I'm adding in starting in book 3 that I'm very, very excited about. So that part is not planned, but it is loosely planned, but not fully.
For going off that topic, will each of the books be different retellings of different fairy tales or just stories, or are they just going to stay the Robin Hood retelling?
It'll be mostly Robin Hood. Book 2 has a dash of another retelling in it. That honestly was not intentional.
Is it Snow White?
No, not Snow White.
I was gonna say, because there is the for just a second a mention of Snow White, and I was like, is that an Easter egg?
No, not Snow White. And there is one song that is like an overlooming inspiration for book 2, and I can't post it on my Spotify playlist, because if I do, it'll give it away. So
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great bad dude.
Good. I'm glad you hate him.
What are you guys talking about? Gage is the ultimate feminist. Just kidding, obviously. Sounds so cutthroat and scary. I'm not sure if she's. I think she's talking about the whole outlining, pantsing, and all that stuff. Not pantsing, but
yeah,
pants, like writing by the seat of your pants.
Right. Yes.
So I have a question about your, like, when did you start writing? Like, in general, when did you know you wanted to be a writer? When did you start writing stories?
So the whole story is, I started writing in high school. This was the first story that I think it was just like an idea that just came to me, and it was very strange. I think I was probably laying outside tanning, honestly, and it never left me. And so I started just kind of writing it a little bit, and I actually wrote the manuscript for it. And initially, it was going to be called Rising Fawn, and then book 2 is going to be Blooming Iris, and then Descending Dove. And I had all 3 of those mapped out. Well, I started going to college, and then nursing school. And with nursing school, everything stops. Like, you just focus on that. You don't have time for anything else. And so writing took a back seat. And after that, like, I knew at the time that I started writing the story that I had the idea for it, but it was too big for me, and I didn't have the heart for it. So the heart came a few months after I started working as a nurse in the ER, and had a pretty traumatic experience there. I ended up losing a patient who was 6 months old in a very horrific way, and it scarred me for a really long time. Really, really messed with me mentally. And then I went and became a travel nurse in the ER during COVID, and again saw some really rough stuff and dealt with some really rough things, and knew that I had to do something, or else, like, I was just not in a good place. My mental health was really, really bad at one point, and so I was at home and between assignments, and got out my old notebooks, and I found the manuscript for Rising Fawn, and so I just started thinking about it even more, and started thinking about that patient that I'd lost, and I decided that the series was going to be for him, and that it's a way for him to live on, even though no one else might, keep him in their hearts. But
It's the kid thing.
It's the kids thing. Kids are, yeah.
The little girl with the scar, and like your eye can't open stuff. That little girl.
Yeah. Kids are Kids are a big soft spot for me.
Oh.
And they're definitely a big soft spot for Isolde too.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. Yeah. And story hour was something that actually when I was little, in the summertime, we would spend it with my aunt, and she would take us to a story hour every Wednesday at our local library. And so that was always just something very special for me as a kid. And so I wanted to incorporate that as well. And while Isolde loves to read, which I do too, but I wanted it to also be important to the plot and how reading is illegal for humans if we're half-bloods, and even just being read to, that will lead to many more troubles for her later on. So a lot of things from my personal life I wanted to incorporate it in some way.
Also, for those that don't know, Kristen lives like here where I live, which I think is really cool. We live in pretty much the same town.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Very close.
Yeah. Which is also like when I picked up her book, she where is it? Hold on. She signed it for me.
Aw, nice.
Yeah. And I also got this cool little print.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
And then I also got the eyeballs.
That is old.
There we go. Let me try to.
There you go.
It's me.
Perfect.
And then is this Malachi or?
Yep, that's Malachi.
She knows it.
Oh my gosh! I just like raised it, like lowered it down so I could put it over Drew. I'm like, that doesn't work. Let's see. When she was talking about the cutthroat and scary, it was referring to the two people that you're deciding their fate.
Oh yeah, I will be. I get sad whenever I think about it. I'm like, I don't know. I love them both so much. We'll see.
Uh-oh.
How did you decide on Isolde as a main character, or was there a lot of personal influence?
So Isolde is essentially, she's a collection of my experiences. So she's not necessarily like, I didn't base the character off of me per se, but certain things that she's experienced that she feels, I guess I feel in a way, which I guess it kind of is based on me, I guess, in a way, but she's able to do things that I'm not able to do, that I might want to do. Living vicariously through the main character. But I wanted it to be someone who wasn't scared to stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves, and to be, I guess, that strong beacon for others who might not feel like they have a voice in the world.
I was actually going to ask you which character you see more of yourself in out of all the characters.
Ooh, well, that's a good question. I would probably say I'm a good mix of Killian and Malachi. Probably. I love, like, Killian's humor is very similar to mine. He's very sarcastic, and Malachi, like, he tries to be that, like, that level head in the group, which I tend to do sometimes. But I don't know, like, probably, I don't know, maybe a good mix of all four of the cadre. I feel like there's little pieces of me in all four of them.
Have you ever read the Green Creek series by T.J. Klune? So werewolf shapeshifters, very, very gay, very gay. But there is a character in there. His name's Thomas. He's like the father figure, of the head of the pack. And Malachi gives me a lot of Thomas vibes. Yeah. If you haven't read it, you should. I think you would enjoy it.
It sounds good. I love shifter books.
It's I forget how many. I think 5 books, if I remember correctly, and the first one's called Wolf Song. Yep, there you go.
Oh, okay.
And then
I think I might have it on my shelf, actually.
these are the rest. So I haven't owned the rest of them yet, but
My covers look very different because those are the brand new covers.
Those are pretty. I love the shiny. I love shiny.
yeah.
And TJ Clinton was actually a past Season-a-thon author too, so we've had him on the channel.
Was he the one that wrote The House on the Cerulean Sea?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I thought so.
Yes. We read. Oh gosh, what was it? It was the Extraordinaries. That was the book we read of his. It was like a superhero type book.
Nice.
But yeah, that was the one we read for Season-a-thon. But oh my goodness, The House on the Cerulean Sea is so good.
I have it right there on my shelf. I see it.
Have you read it?
I have not. No, my TBR
Hashtag
is.
haven't read it.
That's a hashtag of my life. Haven't read it. I need to. There's so many.
Yeah, my shelves look a lot like, well, not as pretty as yours, but my shelves are packed like yours, and I have so many that my bookshelves are overflowing. I have like, I don't know how many bookshelves, like 18, I think, in my house right now, and they all have.
Oh gosh,
I love it.
My whole house is my library at this point because I got shelves in the living room, shelves in the dining room, shelves in my bedroom, shelves in the guest room, the whole closet has been turned into a bookshelf in the guest room, shelves in my son's room, shelves in the office.
I love it.
Shelves in the bonus room off my bedroom.
Speaking of books, is there any books similar that you would recommend to readers who liked Thief of Sorrow that you would recommend for?
So I always say, if Thief of Sorrows was going to be on a bookshelf, it would be between Throne of Glass and Six of Crows.
Ooh,
Like there's a nice element to it with like a smart mouth assassin.
I can very much see that. Very much see that.
Those are two of my like top favorite series, so I'm kind of happy you said that.
So yeah, it's like you take those and you throw in some Wolf Song.
Yeah, you got
the shapeshifters.
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't quite understand Alaric and Galena's choice to end their immortality in order to die together. Is that something we will find out more about in the prequel?
You get a little bit more of what they experienced in the prequel, but for them, they've just lived for so long, and they're just ready. They feel like that they've lived a full life, and at the point they're in relative peace, and so they want to end their days in that peace. And so by not using their magic, they will age.
So there was okay, how to say this without spoilers for Drew. So when the thing happens with all the children,
yes,
and that woman was like really mad at Isolde, and she does what she does. I was like, why did she do that? Because we don't, like, the children, they can come back and be like, Mom, like, what the heck, you know?
So with that situation where they're taken, people don't come back. And she was convinced that that particular individual or several individuals would not be returning. And so she thought they were, and that's why.
But yeah, for me, I would have been like, you know, I'm a mom, and
she's my mom, even though not really.
He calls me his booktube mom. So I'm a mom, and for me, if I were in that situation, I mean, I would be like devastated, but at the same time, I would be like, fix it now. You know, I would do whatever it takes to fix it before, you know, it would be, I would have to know 100% that it couldn't be fixed before getting that far gone.
Yeah.
so hard to choose words.
No, it is. It is. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, I was just like, to me, I was like that's was kind of not overreacting, but going too far too soon. Where I was like, what if they come back? You know, that's awful if they come back to that.
Yeah.
I have a fun little question.
Oh,
I don't
go
mean
ahead.
to interrupt, but are you able to describe your book in 10 words or less by chance?
Okay. A gender bend Robin Hood retelling with a morally gray female lead.
Oh.
I was like, gender bent Robin Hood retelling. And that's as far as, and then you were like, you said the same first 5 words. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, it just sort of seemed like poor timing. However, I know that's all changed now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Alaric and Galena.
But,
gosh, yeah, that scene was horrible.
things have changed. Where they were at the time that they had made that decision was a little bit before where the book initially started. So they were in, so that they had been 8. So you saw when you first met Gal, she had the gray streaks in her hair. You could see the age lines, like she looked a little bit older. And so they had been making this decision years prior to the start of book 1. And they were in relative peace, and they didn't really think that things were going to get any better. And so they thought, well, this is as good as it's going to get. Let's just pass this on to her and live out our lives as best as we can with the happiness that we can obtain. I'm sorry. The scene was sad. I'm so sorry.
So, some questions I like to ask all the authors that we have on here. One is, what are you reading right now?
Nothing. No, because so I finished. We were actually talking about this before we started. I finished this series, and it destroyed me. Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. It's the War of Lost Hearts trilogy, and I cried so many times. Like it's this, ACOTAR, and Harry Potter for me are my top 3 series of all time.
Wow.
I can't describe how amazing this series is. And so I finished it. I listened to the entire 3rd book on the way home from a ball in Louisiana on Sunday, and I've not touched anything since.
No.
And I can't bring myself to read anything. But once I do read something, I'll be reading Eternal Rain by the Twisted Sisters, which is their new vampire book.
Is it Daughter of No Words or
Worlds?
Worlds.
Yeah, that's the first one. Yeah. But I highly encourage you to listen to it, because there are certain dialects in the book, and that just made the experience so much more amazing and heartbreaking.
I have her those Serpent in the Wings books by that same author on my Kindle right now, and I'm like, ooh, do I get audio or do I just physically read it?
So I'm halfway through with Serpent, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I had to stop reading it because I had to finish an arc for another author.
Nice.
But yeah, it's incredible. It really is. It's very different from Daughter of No Worlds.
Nice.
Two completely different things, but it's still a great read. Very, very fast paced.
Okay. So I think you might have already answered the next question I would be asking. It's like, do you have any recommendations, like book recommendations? And so you said that one.
Definitely that one.
Mine would be Fourth Wing for sure.
Fourth Wing, yeah, loved Fourth Wing. Let me look here. Let's see.
I see you have like at least 2 copies of Fourth Wing back there. 3 copies.
Fourth Wing. That whole Fourth Wing. Anything SJM, love her. This series, and can I reach it? I will. It's the Curse. Here, the Curse So Dark and Lonely series by
Yes.
Bridget Kimmerer. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling,
Mhm.
and it's phenomenal. She wrote this series, and then she wrote another trilogy, and the first one is Defy the Night, and it's kind of like a Robin Hood retelling in a way.
It is, yeah.
Yes, it's very good. Loved it. I can't wait for Destroy the Day. I met her at a Polycon this past year,
Oh,
and
nice.
I was like asking her about it, and I asked her if I was going to cry, because I cried at everything, and she kind of went, "Yeah, you will." I'm like,
Oh
no.
no.
Yeah,
So-
I loved that series so much. Like
It's
the first
really
book for
good.
me was like a 5-star read, and then the second
Mhm.
book, I was like, how do I give it higher than a 5-star read?
Yes.
And then the
Yeah.
third book was like 4 stars, but like Gray was
I
and
love
always
Gray.
will be my book boyfriend.
I love Grace so much. Have you read Forging Silver into Stars? It's the one
Not
that
yet.
came.
I have it, but I haven't read it.
It's incredible.
He was a co-host last year and previous year. I buddy read Forged Servers into Stars with Clint last year or a couple
Mhm.
years now, and we both like cried over FaceTime while reading it. I was like, oh no.
I love
So-
Jax so much.
Mhm.
I just want to hold him. I just want to give him the biggest hug ever.
I'm curious of when she's gonna give us news about book 2 of that series.
So from what I understand, Bloomsbury has the manuscript. Like it's ready. They're just waiting because I guess they want to do Destroy the Day first, finish that series out, and then move back into since that'll be finished, and then move back into that other world. Because I think she's doing 3 books total in the spin-off. I think I'm right about that. But I would also recommend Shatter
Bridget
Me.
Kimmerer also has another series, like it's a duology, and it's like a contemporary, and it's really, really, really fantastic.
I can't remember the name of it, but I know what you're talking about. Yes, yeah, definitely Shatter Me too.
I met Tara Mafi at Y'all West last year, so yeah. I don't know if Mel was there when I was meeting her, but I kind of fanboyed a little.
Oh, I would totally fangirl all over the place. I love that series. I love those two so much. The 2 main ones will always have a special place in my heart, especially her. She's just, after everything she went through, she's still able to be kind. And even him too.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, it's just, when you finally understand what is actually going on, I just kind of set the book down and I just cried. Like, that's the worst.
Yes.
Did it shatter you?
Huh?
I said, did it shatter you?
Oh, it shattered me all over the place. It did.
Yes.
Okay, so what about anticipated reads? What's your most anticipated read? That book that hasn't come out that you're like dying to get your hands on?
I have 3.
Ooh.
And it's all very equal. So, first one is going to be Iron Flame. Very excited. So excited. And then CC3. I'm terrified of that book.
CC3?
Crescent City 3.
I'm sorry, what?
Crescent City 3.
Oh, Crescent City. Oh, yeah.
And then Zodiac Academy book 9 comes out sometime.
There's 9 in that series? Wow.
Yeah. So it was supposed to only be 8, and they got right before the book 8 was supposed to come out and said it's actually going to be split into 2 books. So I was like emotionally and mentally prepared to end that series on 8, and those books. So this is going to sound really stupid, but the ending of 7 was so traumatizing that I didn't eat a solid meal for 3 days. Like, I was so emotional. I was so depressed by the end of 7. Like, I was like, I need to know what happens to these people. So I'm very excited. Oh, it's not the best writing in the world, but the characters, you start to care about them so much it's just such a deep level. But there is a certain order that you need to read them, and I'll send you the order.
Okay.
There's like, it's 8, there's 9, so there's like 14 books total in this world. so I'm very excited to read
I'll
book
be back.
9. And no, you're good. And a couple of friends of mine and we are on their art team, and so we flew to LA for the release of book 8 last December, and we all read it together at my friend's house. And so we're going to try and do that again for book 9. Hopefully, we'll see. Hopefully, it pans out.
I love that. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to try to have like let's all just get together and hang out. Like, we'll have a sleepover where we all just read.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's fun, and the girls know how much I cry, so they made a tally board of how many times like Sarah cried, Jordan cried, and Kristen cried. I had like 10 marks. They had 1. I cried in awesome. Books now. I do.
If the writing's really, really good and I'm really invested in the characters, I will definitely shed some tears. Even if it's not sad. Like,
oh yeah. Even if it's just like a beautiful moment.
I just read, oh yeah, I've had those too. I just read Sweet Black Waves by Christina Perez recently.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that ended, like, I cried for one of the characters because something that happened was just so awful for her, and she knows why it happened. But I was just like, that just broke my heart, and I'm so sorry for you.
No.
I felt so bad for her. And I've had another where it was like, oh gosh, it was like a middle grade kind of, but not really middle grade. It was, I think, meant for an adult, but it was about a young girl, and she was like, she was an orphan. She was a foster kid, and it was like all these horrible things that was happening to her, and she ran away, and she was like, I forget where, somewhere in this part of the country, and she's like, she runs away, and she's going to run away to California and does all this stuff to get herself there. And then when she gets there, things are not as great as she thought, and all these struggles she had throughout the travel. And then like when she finally like had this good, happy, like a place, a home, a family, I just bawled. I was just like, she went through so much. And there's this moment. It's so good.
Drew, have you read Crooked Kingdom? You have, right? Okay, so the final scene with when someone sees their family, and I just at the very end, I just lost it crying. Mama, Papa, and I'm just like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, I read that book, I think like the day it came out, so it was still like popular. Yeah. And my friend, she's not going to be here to watch this, but she'll watch the replay. But my friend Taylor can attest to how many times I cried / FaceTime her reading that book to her. So.
Yeah, and it wasn't for a sad reason. It was for like what you're saying, Melanie. It's for a good, sweet reason, but one that just ripped your heart out.
Oh yes. Yeah, I cried for like a good hour after reading, and it was like maybe a 200-page at the most book, but I cried for like an hour because I was just so emotionally wrecked after my heart went out to this little girl, and I just was like, I wanted her to have the best life ever, forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though she's a fictional character. And it's funny because somebody that knew the author of that book happened to see my video and sent my video to the author, and she watched it and like commented on my video and stuff too, and I was just like, and she saw me just bawling because I was crying into the camera like, this book.
What was mine? I would say the last book that I like bawled was probably The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas.
I've heard that's a good book.
That was not a book to start reading like right before you go to bed.
Yes, no. I was literally reading it in my closet because at the time I was sharing my room with my sibling. So I was like, no, this is gonna be terrible. And then my brother made fun of me for crying in the book. I'm like, if you read the book, you'll know why I'm crying.
Like, you don't get it.
No, he does not.
I remember it was a long time, years ago, and I read that, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna start this. I was like literally just about to go to bed. I'm like, I've got 20 minutes or something before bed. I'm just gonna go ahead and start it now. And I was listening to it and getting ready for bed. And then next thing I know, I'm like, I'm just sitting on my bed bawling, and it's at the very beginning when that thing happens, and I'm just like, I was like, I can't go to sleep now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big crier when it comes. If I'm feeling the characters, I'm emotionally invested in them, then yeah, I'll boohoo. Mel, you like to travel. You need to host a Trova trip sometime in the future. That would be awesome. I get choked up pretty easily, and I agree. It doesn't always have to be all that sad. It just hits me in the right way, right?
Absolutely.
It's just like, you just want to hug these characters, or you just, they had such an awful thing happen, but now it's a good thing, or they had, just, or even just something beautifully written that just like, you don't even know why you're crying. You're just crying.
Yeah.
I had Tahara Mafi do that to me with some of her books.
Oh.
I can't remember. There were the more contemporary books of hers.
Oh.
Like A Very Large Expanse of Sea. She got me with that one. But yeah, just so beautifully written that I'm just like, tear. Okay, so when you're writing, do you have like a go-to snack beverage? Is there something that you're like munching on when you're writing?
No, I really don't eat much when I write. I have to have I have to always have water. I've got water and I've got coffee right here beside me now. But it's it's always water, and then it's either tea, coffee, or wine. One of
the wine.
Yes, Cabernet. Always Cab. And I always have to have a candle burning as well.
Ooh.
Yep. And I've gotten to where I always sit in this chair because it's beside the window, and sometimes I'll play music. It just depends on the type of writing that I'm doing. If I'm writing a fight scene, like a certain fight scene, then I'll put on the Star Wars score. Huh?
Like boss battle music?
Well, I listen to Star Wars score.
Oh.
Yeah. The final fight scene in Thief of Sorrows, I listened to Duel of Fates from Phantom Menace over and over and over again. Yeah, so that's
going to be interesting for me to read and have that in my head now.
You can turn it on and just play that while you're reading that.
Heavily influenced that. And then the fight scene between Anakin and Obi-Wan, Battle of the Heroes, that comes in play in book 5.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so for your candle, what kind of do you like?
I like all kinds. This one is a... Let me drop it. It's Gemini, which I'm a Gemini. But I think it's like some kind of sandalwood thing, I think. And then let me get this other candle. It's my favorite.
The man smell. The way all men in books smell, sandalwood.
Yes, I love like leather, tobacco, anything manly. And then this is from Fiction Bath Co. It's Make Me Your Villain. And it's dark mist, tonka bean, balsam, black amber, lily, and sandalwood. And I want my life to smell like this candle. It's so good. So this one I use mainly for drafting. I don't know why, like certain candles I want to smell while I'm drafting. Others, like the manly one, I want to smell when I'm editing. I don't know why. I'm just weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So other than having a candle burning, do you have anything else that you like? I always have to have this with me when I'm writing. Like I know certain other authors have like a little talisman or something that they have there with them. Janella Angeles, she has like this little bird And she sits on her laptop when she's writing.
No, it's mostly the time of day. Like I tend to draft, like writing far better at night. I do so much better at night, just because it's quiet, the dogs are asleep, everyone else is asleep, and I don't know, just inspiration comes so much better at night. Editing, I can do that for the most part whenever, but when I'm writing a draft, it has to be at night.
I relate to that for my booktube channel because most of the time my family is always home, so I would have to film either at night or when they're not home, and then editing the videos I can do whenever.
Right. Yes, it's just easier at night.
Oh yeah.
Everything just kind of settles.
It does. It settles. It's calming. It's chill.
Sets a good atmosphere too, like especially if you're writing a dark kind of scene or a spooky scene.
Yeah, and you know, most the story's dark, so it works better.
Yeah. Very, very dark. Oh my goodness, no holds. Yeah.
So
it's very detailed. Like you can see in your head everything that's happening in the story because of all of the details in it.
Yeah.
So like when I think it was Bly, I could be wrong, but when she's like pushed up against the fence or wall or something, and maybe it may not be Bly, it may have been a different character.
Are you talking about when they're at Briarhole, like right after where Drew's at with Malachi and Bly?
I think it's right where I was at.
And he's he like trying to lift up her skirts and all of this.
Yeah.
And his old sees, and she's oh my goodness, but I did love when Hood had him strapped to the bed.
Oh, Gage.
Oh my god,
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes to write, just because it's like with Gage, it's either going to be something truly bad or it's going to be his old, just putting him in his place. And what?
Oh no, you're good.
I don't know, what did I do? Or it's going to be her putting him in his place and just like making him look like an idiot.
She does very well at making him look like an idiot, but he also does not take very well to him him looking like an idiot, because it's like every time she makes him look like an idiot, he does something even worse.
Yeah, definitely there are consequences for actions for sure, but it's also at the same time like she can't not like.
Oh yeah, she reacts with her heart a lot more than her head at times.
Yes, she's very much like off the cuff, very reactive to things, and that will come back to bite her big time in book 2.
Oh,
I mean, it bit her pretty big time that time, like in this one too, when she went back. Can't say. Drew, when you finish reading the book, you need to come and rewatch this live.
I can believe
and pick up all the little things that we're trying not to say.
Yeah, you're saying how descriptive it is. One of the betas sent me a message and was like, yeah, I can really tell that you work in the ER with how descriptive you are. Yeah, but that's also therapeutic for me in a way, of that style of writing, to flesh out things.
So do you still do the nursing thing on top of?
Oh yeah. I still work 3 to 4 days a week in the ER. Yeah.
And with touring, like book touring, that's wow. That
my goal is to retire from nursing completely and just do this. That would be the ultimate dream, to do that. But yeah, I still haunt the ER. So
that sounds exhausting.
it is at times.
Because I mean, just thinking like when you're not doing that, you're also writing and you're also going on book tours. And because I remember you were right before we went live, you were telling like what your schedule is looking like and all the stuff you have coming up and the places you have to travel to for your book tour.
Mm-hmm.
And to think having a regular, especially an intense job like an ER nurse, wow, just 3 days a week being in that job seems way exhausting. Like that's some that takes a special kind of person to be able to be an ER nurse for real. So awesome to you for being an author, but even more awesome to you for being an ER nurse.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, writing really does help. It's very very therapeutic. It is. And it's probably why it's very graphic. So.
I could see that. And I could see how it could bleed into, no pun intended, bleed into your stories.
Yeah, one of the another beta sent me a message and she just said, "Damn, Chris." And I'm like, "Oh gosh, what?" And she said that the beginning of 2 is very graphic and that I'm going to have to do trigger warnings, which I mean, I have trigger warnings for 1 anyway, but I will probably have to dial it back with 2 because 2 gets very, very violent.
Okay, because this was violent. This was.
Yeah.
What are your trigger warnings in this one? Is it in the front of the book here?
It's in the copyright page.
Let's see. Let me look here.
2 will probably be the most violent apart from book 7.
Oh. Please be aware that this book does contain scenes of emotional, physical, and sexual abuse of a child, human trafficking, suicidal ideations, depression, PTSD, sexual assault, and violence, including but not limited to scenes of torture and death. I didn't read them. Huh? I typically don't go, like, for me, I don't typically go into reading any trigger warnings.
Same here.
I'll let myself get triggered if something triggers me, but it's just, for me, it's just part of the story. Same. But yeah, I can see all of those things. Yeah. Yeah, like for people that
be very thorough.
Yeah, there is all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, and there'll be. I think it'll be pretty much the same thing for 2, for the most part. Yeah. Yeah, same. Just on a pick it up one notch, a little bit.
So, with the extent of what happened with children in book 1, does it get worse for children in book 2? Please say no.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, that was probably the hardest thing for me reading was the kids thing. Like,
you know how it ended, how 1 ended, and where everyone is. Like, they're not in a good spot. And then 2 is there's one scene in 2 that was very, very hard for me to write. And even now, every time that I have to go back and edit it,
I feel myself tearing up just thinking about what could possibly be happening. Granted, I don't want anything bad to happen to the babies.
2 will be the most violent apart from book 7.
Ooh.
2 is very rough. Okay. But it's necessary.
So when can people expect book 2 to come out?
Right now, I've set a release date for for February 27th. I wanted it nowhere near Crescent City 3. Nowhere near it.
And so, in addition, like, are you working on anything other than this series, or just solely focusing on this series at this moment?
So there is a vampire duology that I started drafting when I was in college, and it is based on Dracula, Phantom of the Opera, and where I went to college, which is Tennessee Tech University. And I have... Like
That's
it's
a weird
not
combination.
yeah.
The first two, yes. The third one, that's a weird combination.
Well, so it's based like in a college town. She's older, so it's not like high school. So it'll definitely be a new adult, potentially an adult series. And so it's not like I'm not actively drafting it. I'm just like every now and then, whenever I need a break from the Thief of Sorrows world, I'll kind of be like, okay, well, what would happen at this point? Like just lightly think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know when I would release it. People would be angry when I would release it because it would probably be between book 6 and 7.
Be like so close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so because I really want 7 to be very special.
Aww.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, loosely working on that, but I also am a book reviewer, so I try to read arcs and do promos for them on Instagram and TikTok. And one thing I'd love to do, and I haven't done enough of it, is flat lays for books. So I have like I take pictures and do all the pretty setups for authors, and it's just something fun and creative that I don't really have to I put like a lot of thought into it, but it's just more of a creative outlet, if that makes sense. More fun to do that way.
It doesn't take as much. It takes a lot of thought, like getting it set up, but it doesn't take a lot of brain power.
Correct. Yes, it's more like a feel thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do that a lot. I don't do it anymore because I had to take a break from reviewing books. But when I was working for Disney books, I did like tons of pictures beforehand, before reading the book, and then even after.
Yep.
And then I'd be like taking a screenshot of the author's photos they have and just put it in my posts as well. So I was like, I relate to that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is.
Yeah, I actually have done. I took. Let me see if I have it. I took a screenshot. I was looking to do like a post for Thief of Sorrows and reminding people about the live show, and then I ended up I was like, I'll just use my thumbnail. But I did take a screenshot of a post you had made, Kristen, of and I was just like, I could post this and just tag you that and that.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna do actually that and then the thumbnail, but because yours is square and mine is rectangle, it didn't work. It tried to make mine square, and so it cut off everything. So I was like, you know what? I'll save that and I'll just post it and tag you later.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm like, sometimes I'll do the whole setting up pretty pictures and all that. But then I almost never post when I do that. But, it's like, okay, I can do something like this and I can post that and write, something about it. And I'm more likely to actually post that or, the pictures from all my travels, because those are easy because they're awesome. Like my travels are fun and I take a gazillion pictures anyway. So I already have them on there.
Right.
That goes on my Instagram more than books nowadays. I'm actually been thinking a lot lately about how SeasonAthon and stuff will go next year or how my channel's going to go next year, because it's like half the year I'm traveling. It'll be awesome.
That's exciting.
Very exciting. So, does anybody else have any questions for Kristen? Drew, Amy, anybody else in the audience?
I know you said you have a release date for book 2. Do you have a title for book 2 that you can share, or no?
Yes, it is. It is going to be Champion of Sorrows.
Ooh.
That's on her. It's on her Instagram.
Oh, I didn't even see it yet. I'm sorry.
Yep, and I've thought of the name for the final book for book 7, not the prequel, but I can't tell you.
You have the names of all of the books at this point.
All but 2.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of going back and forth between a couple of options for those, but Sorrows will be in the title of all of them in some capacity.
okay.
So why is that?
I guess I started writing the series in sorrow, and we'll see. And so it's just like a reoccurring theme, I guess, in a way, to Isolde's journey with sorrow. Like well, which Drew's not gotten to the part of how she gets the name Thief of Sorrows yet. Who gives it to her?
I'm sure I'll get to it later tonight.
But it's just something that she has to deal with, and that a few others in the story have to deal with up until the final book. And it's how they overcome it and deal with it, I guess, in a way.
Amy says, I just want to say thank you for sharing your story with us, Kristen.
Oh, thank you, Amy, for having me.
I need
I
to
hope you
buy
feel
a copy.
better.
Would you say, Drew?
I said I need to buy a copy soon because I have it on my Kindle, and then I'm listening to the audiobook on Scribd. So
Awesome. Well, I have signed copies in my shop, and the links the links to my shop is in my Instagram and my TikTok, or it should be anyway.
It should be.
It should be there.
And thank you so much for, being here and for being our author for SeasonAthon this round. You're joining an amazing group of authors that we've had here, and I'm going to put you on the shelves with, Allie Hazelwood and TJ Klune and all of them that I have a special shelf just for my SeasonAthon authors. So you're going on that shelf.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. It was so great getting to talk to you guys.
Thank you.
And it was a pleasure getting to talk to you too. And I'm sure I'll see you about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Also, I was going to try to tell everybody here like the page count for all of the books that have been submitted so far, but I need Marty's assistance to see that. So I will tell you all during the After Hours live show. So it still gives everybody time to go and submit all your books that you've read throughout the readathon. I haven't submitted any of my books yet. I need to do that. As the creator and host of this, I've been busy doing the creating and the hosting, okay?
That's why you have two of us, Mel.
Yeah. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a big thumbs up. Make sure to come back and join me and Drew. Probably not Amy since she's not well. And the two future hosts for the next round of SeasonAthon will be joining us in the After Hours live show. So come, bring your burgers, hot dogs, wine, alcohol, whatever you want to drink, and join us for a fun hangout sesh. 8 p.m. here on my channel. And until next time, remember to always be completely you.
Completely you.
Bye.
Maybe.